And first of all, I will extend my gratitude, obviously, to Professor Joachim von Braun, also to Professor Michael Baumann and Cardinal Peter Turkson for the kind invitation to this workshop. And also Professor Ulrich Ringborg for the scientific program contribution, right? So what I'm going to do in the next, in the next 50 minutes, I have seen the bell, so I'm going to stick to the time. I'm going to, at a glimpse, I'm going to provide, you know, the need for the collaborative efforts in cancer care and cancer research and education. Of course, everything is integrated. Also, some of the joint actions that have established comprehensive cancer centers networks in Europe so far. Cancer Core Europe as a model of academic collaboration between comprehensive cancer centers. Some figures on the EU joint projects mainly related to advanced therapies, and at the end, some take-home messages. So we discussed yesterday, you know, during all the presentation, how important is the collaboration, not only multidisciplinary collaboration, but international collaboration, in order to promote the best cancer care, the best clinical research, and the best education for the best of our patients. And in here, actually, I think that the vision that Professor Loe Hood had several years ago on the P4 medicine approach is really very important. So there have been some joint actions to establish, you know, the maturity of comprehensive cancer centers. I think that the seminal one is the OSI organization and the OSI accreditation, because this has been launched several years ago, and so far is the largest network of cancer centers in Europe and beyond, right? And this accreditation process actually has been instrumental for the growth and of the comprehensive cancer centers and the collaboration between them, we have to say, right? Yesterday we heard also on some of the EU initiatives, like the first joint action, CRANE, that was basically set to develop maturity and blueprint models for the creation of networks of comprehensive cancer centers, but more at a very theoretical level. And as you know, this program, this joint action actually finished on the last year. We heard yesterday on the continuation with, or the kind of approach of continuing the effort with the UNED CCC, and we discussed a lot about how that could really implement you know, a real structure of comprehensive cancer centers in all the countries of the European Union, but actually it's very, in my opinion, a little bit unrealistic. Also, we have other joint actions, and I want to mention the personalized cancer medicine joint action. This has been recently launched, and interestingly enough, actually, you can see that there are 29 member states with at least 150 partners. And this is really important because the aim is to improve cancer care by really implementing personalized medicine approaches across Europe. And this obviously relates to the best practices, also public health guidelines, fostering as much as possible innovation through pilot testing and capacity building initiatives. And in here, actually, our institution and other institutions actually have a pilot example on how supranational molecular tumor boards for complex cases can be established and can be implemented across the different regions in the participating countries. And there will be two pilots, one dedicated more to the pediatric tumors, another one to the adult diseases. Nevertheless, I'm going to expand a little bit more on Cancer Core Europe. And first of all, I would like to make credit. So Cancer Core Europe, in a way, actually was the natural continuation of the EU FP6-funded Eurocamp platform program. And thanks to the persuasive efforts of Ulrich Ringborg, also Anton Bers, and Julio de Celis, actually this was created, especially with the idea of the most collaborative centers that did translational research and clinical research continue that effort. And here also I want to provide credit to the initial chair, Lex Egermont, who actually was the founder of Cancer Core Europe back in 2014. and also the NET's chair, Emil Wust, from the Netherlands Cancer Institute. And as you can see here, basically, this was a collaboration between already accredited comprehensive cancer centers that were very close with the universities, with demonstrated capabilities in basic and translational research, and with very intensive and huge clinical research programs. So this is what, actually, as you can see, this is the integration and collaboration of different centers, the Karolinska, Cambridge, DKFZ, Heidelberg, the Netherlands Cancer Institute, the Istituto de Tumori de Milan, Gustave Roussy, and our center, VHIO. The important here, as you can see by the numbers, is that this is a high volume of clinical activity, right? So every year, these institutions see more than 60,000 new patients per year, and that provides multiple opportunities for collaboration. Just a glimpse and overview, the way that this is structured, obviously we have a board of directors, but more importantly, an operational board that meets on a weekly basis. And in here, actually, we have 4 major pillars. The first one, that was the initial one, actually is the clinical trials and translational research pillar. The second one is the virtual data center. I'm going to talk a little bit on them. The third one, very important, education and training, and this was also all the efforts of continuation of the Eurocamp platform, and you will see some of them. And finally, the last pillar that we have implemented is the prevention and early diagnosis. Why do we need Cancer Core Europe if we see that there are many existing organizations? Well, first of all, we think that and demonstrated that all these institutions have optimized recruitment capacity in clinical trials. So they are highly active, they are highly innovative, but also they are very active in the speed of execution and negotiation of all the regulatory processes for academic and even pharma-sponsored clinical trials. And also all these centers have their own CRO, and this actually facilitates the operation, right? The other important thing is that all these institutions are very flexible in producing trial designs that are more willing to answer the most important questions that patients have and how to promote the best care in those particular patients. Also, having enough critical mass, as mentioned before, provides an opportunity for tackling unmet needs, difficult to treat diseases and frequent diseases, rare diseases, right? But more importantly, actually, what we have said in order to promote clinical research activities is standardized regulatory legal procedures. And this is all centralized by the dedicated Cancer Core Europe task force. So this means that we have an homogenized legal documents like the clinical trial agreement, like the consolidated disclosure agreement, the confidential disclosure agreement, the material and data transfer agreement, and also, importantly, we have a costing tool, and this is really very important for potential sponsors to know how much and how rapid this is gonna be, right? So first pillar, as mentioned, is more dedicated to clinical trials and translational research, and in here, obviously, the concept is to be intensive in the field of early drug development and precision medicine. And here, I will expand a little bit. We have perhaps the flag is the basket of baskets trials, but we have other phase 1 studies, but also collaborations that are really very important in order to create the virtual data center and the virtual repository, or what we call iBank pathology task force. So the basket of baskets is a modular basket clinical trial. So far is the largest tissue agnostic precision oncology trial in Europe, and all the Cancer Core Europe centers participate on that. And basically, this is a molecular design to evaluate the anti-tumor activity in molecularly selected patients. For that, actually, we have an eye profiler that relates to the profiling of the patients. We have a molecular tumor board that meets on a weekly basis, and then we have the basket with the different cohorts of patients. And the first data of this basket of baskets actually was presented this year at the ACR meeting. Very importantly, and this is a demonstration that things can be done across countries, and even as you know, UK participates and is not right now in the European Union, but this can be done especially discussing the patients, not only the clinical annotation, but all the genomics and in some cases also other proteomic biomarkers, in order to decide which is the best treatment option for the patient within the clinical trials of Cancer Core Europe or outside the clinical trials. And this is really very important. Also, if you want to have more details on that, actually that was a publication in Nature Cancer describing all the process. Also, we have a collaboration with other partners outside CCE in the DAR project that basically, this is a EU Horizon 2020 funded project that aims to incorporate newer and more efficient tools and methods in the design, conduct, and analysis of clinical trials. Interestingly here, obviously, you can see on the right side, we have tools, we have methods, we have biomarkers, but more importantly, we have the patients very actively participating in this consortia. Finally, obviously, an area that is really very active with the key investigators at all the sites is the promotion of phase 1 clinical trials. The second one, the virtual data center. Actually, this is really very important because we want to promote data sharing. And we all know that this is a fundamental, critical step to connect systems biology with all the biomedical research that we have in the field of biomarkers, but also with all the clinical data, right? And by connecting all these kind of omics, clinomics, and omics, and data sharing, actually, we want to contribute to the real creation of an example of data sharing in the European health data space in action. And this is absolutely real. And finally, what? Actually, of course, we want to enable as much as possible AI development on large data sets that correspond and belong to the centers to establish the best genotype, phenotype, outcome associations and to develop predictive biomarkers. This is work in progress, and this is basically led by Karolinska, Gustav Rossi, and the KFC NCT in Heidelberg. And this is a real demonstration of how a federated search portal actually is working right now, right, in a practical way. And also we have an agreement almost finalized between CCE and Paris St. Clair Cancer Cluster in order to promote even more these activities. Education and training, as mentioned before, this was the natural continuation of the activities in education that were done on the Eurocamp platform, especially the summer school. This is led by the Karolinska, and Ingemar has been really very instrumental in promoting all these activities, but it's not only this. So we do workshops, we do clinical exchange program, very important program, the TriTrack, that favors advanced training for young researchers in the centers, and finally the lecture series. And finally, last but not least, we wanted to be also very active in early detection and more important in prevention. And this is a pillar that started a couple of years ago, although that was in the radar some years before. And basically, they want to promote the best innovation in early detection and prevention. And here, also, we promote studies in tertiary prevention, but also we want to have good collaborations with IARC and Cancer Prevention Europe, among others. So we celebrated on the last year the 10th anniversary, and actually we were offered by invitation a position paper in cancer discovery that relates all these activities. And at the end, I think that thanks to the collaboration of all the participating centers, this is a real example of comprehensive cancer centers collaboration across Europe in practice, right, in different aims. Finally, just only one slide. There are many initiatives, but I want to make a point on also on what Europe is promoting for the field of advanced therapy medicine products. And in here, the Joint for ATMP is a joint action that promotes the risk of the European ATMP's development. As you know, this is right now almost based by pharma companies, but there are many academic centers producing their own NTMPs. And at the end, what you want to promote is to ensure as much as possible the widespread access of NTMPs for the patient, right? And there are several consortia that are working on that. So finally, just if we can sum up, I think that we have been able to show not only my presentation, but in the previous presentations that there are many European Union initiatives to promote cancer research, to better promote, to promote better care, catalyzed by the Horizon Europe Cancer Mission, also the European Union for Health and the European Health Data Space. Obviously, and we discussed later, yesterday, a little bit on that, there is a risk of task redundancy, right? So there are many initiatives, and some of them are not really very conciliated. So I think that it's very important that we align as much as possible all the initiatives, because otherwise we would be overlapping and actually losing resources that are really critical. Obviously, there are opportunities to develop collaborative platforms for data sharing in reality within the European Data Hub, but also within the different consortia and joint research for implementing these activities. In my opinion, actually, already accredited comprehensive cancer centers should address and centralize some of all these aims that I have mentioned, especially platforms and networks of expertise. So this is not something that you build from one day to another. Actually, you need a lot of time to make the process, to create the network, and then to promote all the activities that we should do. Like, for example, developing clinical trials for personalized or P4 medicine, number one, but also to establish the networks where patients can be really treated in the best way with all the multidisciplinary teams. Also, of course, it's an opportunity for infrequent malignancies, rare malignancies, and pediatric diseases. And finally, I think that it's our duty to favor the best for our patients and for our citizens, and this is in part relates to equal and sustainable access to cancer treatments, or even those that are under development or standard of care to all the citizens in the European Union and beyond the borders of the European Union. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will be happy to answer any questions.